Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the fourth period. My name is Norman, and before we get into the video, would you please consider dropping the video a like, dropping the channel a subscribe, sharing the video if you enjoy it, and in the comments letting me know if you agree, disagree, what you thought of the games that happened on the 16th of January 2021 in the NHL. But without any further ado, let's get right into it. So, I actually only watched 3 games. So I watched the New York Islanders against the Rangers, Toronto versus Ottawa, and Montreal versus Edmonton. I also did watch the Sharks against the Coyotes, but there, 3 of those games I'm not really going to talk about a lot. So let's start with the Sharks against the Coyotes. Just 5-3 for the Coyotes. The Sharks look in disarray. Whatever the question is, Martin Jones is never the answer, and it showed. The Coyotes took advantage of their opportunities. They took advantage of the penalties that the Sharks took. The Sharks, where to begin with him? You've got Evander Kane, who, if he's not, if he isn't performing, that's a big hole in the team. You've got Tomas Hertl, who's very good. You've got Timo Meier, who's very good. But that's about it up front, really. And at the back, Bet Burns hasn't been himself for so long. Eric Carlson, yes, he's been injured. He might need time, but how much time are you giving him in a 56-game season? So, all in all, a bad loss for the Sharks, a good win for the Coyotes, but they march on. Next, the Rangers and the Islanders. Now, do I have a lot to say about that game? Not really. The Islanders took way too many penalties, took 9 penalties on the night, lots of them coming from Ross Johnson, who I said I loved, and I still do like Ross Johnson if he is playing the way he is supposed to play, which is getting those big hits in, which is occasionally fighting, getting into the heads of the opponents. And he didn't. The opponents got into his head, taking so many of these penalties. Now, Georgiev started for the Rangers and Sorokin started for the Islanders. The reason Sorokin started was that Varlamov actually took a puck to the throat in warm-ups. It didn't look good. He dropped out to the ice immediately. Now, I hope it's a stinger because it's never nice to see anyone injured. And Varlamov, on his day, is a really underrated goalie. Now, Georgiev for the Rangers isn't a surprise at all. Obviously, Shesterkin in the first game had a rough night. Georgiev showed that he is ready, although he didn't have that much to do. Whenever he was called upon, he answered. Zibanejad, for me, again, one of the most underrated centers in the league. You might say you might agree, you might disagree, you might say, oh, maybe Brock Nelson is. I would agree with the fact that Brock Nelson is one of the most underrated players in the league, but Zibanejad, so much of what the Rangers do go through him, even if he's not getting as many points as you would expect him to. The leadership he brings on the ice, the calmness, the tutoring, and Bushnevich actually on his line. What a night for him. What a night for Pavel Bushnevich. Great night. 2 goals, 1 assist. And another goal came from Capo Caco, and that will do the world of good to Capo Caco's confidence. He had a rough season last year, obviously, and getting his first goal 2 games into the season can only be good for the Rangers. Lafreniere hasn't yet gotten any point, but I believe his time will come. So anyway, the game ends 5-0. So the first game goes to the Islanders 4-0. The second game goes to the Rangers 5-0. Let's see what the third does. Elsewhere, Edmonton got absolutely exposed and destroyed by Montreal. There was no Zakasyan for the Edmonton Oilers. He had the birth of his daughter, so congratulations to him. But man, like everyone's been saying, if you manage to contain McDavid and Draisaitl, you've got a chance against those Oilers. And yeah, Montreal played the game perfectly. They've got a good team. The Oilers, Tyson Berry at the back, it's suspect. What else can you say? And then the third game would be Toronto versus Ottawa. So the lines are unchanged except for Barabanov going out of the team and Robertson coming into the team. Joe Thornton is still on the first line. That was really surprising, but the defense for the rest is unchanged. And Jack Campbell came into the game instead of Frederick Anderson. Frederick Anderson was drafted completely, not even as a backup. That went to Aaron Dell. So Toronto, as always, started very nicely with one shot. They got a shot off, pressuring very high. They're forcing the Ottawa players outside. They go on the PK. That's skilled off very nicely. They only let in. They only give Ottawa one shot, which they do not convert. They surround the Ottawa players very nicely. And Robertson showed good flashes of brilliance, getting that quick release off really quite once or twice, not very often, but once or twice. Unfortunately, after the first, he wouldn't come back after an apparent knee issues. Now it'd be very interesting to see whether Toronto decides to call up Barabanov again, whether they decide to call up Mikko Lehtinen and go with 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. I'm not really sure. I would lean more towards them bringing back Barabanov. I want to see Mikko Lehtinen, but I don't believe they will go with 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, although it did work a bit. And yeah, first goal came to the Sens halfway came to the Leafs, or the Sens. Was it Tim Stutzler that first scored? No, it was first the Sens. Sorry. Came through the Sens with West Ball, and it was quite a fortuitous goal. A shot that he accidentally blocks, it drops down. Campbell is still standing from that original shot, and Paul makes no mistake. It's 1-0 to the Senators. Now, there was a quick response from Toronto, and Joe Thornton, of all people, he's been getting a bit of flack on that first line with Marner and Matthews, but a beautiful drop pass from Marner for Thornton. He makes no mistake. It's 1-0. He looks delighted, and everyone was. I am delighted for him. It's. I'll be curious to see whether they can work on from that, or whether it will be. Whether it will result in better productivity, or if it will just prolong Jumbo Joe on the first line, even if he isn't performing, since later on, as well, on that line, Hyman would be on the line with Marner and Matthews. It would lead to a goal for Austin Matthews, was it? Oh, I've got the notes here, but anyway. No, it was Marner who finds the net, right. It was Marner who finds the net, right. However, Toronto couldn't sustain that pressure on the power play, and they would actually go on the penalty kill. Hyman immediately takes a penalty. That is killed off really nicely, and what a stop by Campbell. Campbell, wow, what an incredible stop. Now, again, it creates a debate. So the game ended 3-2. There was 8 left in the third. After Matthews got the goal, Tim Stutzler got his first goal. He was left alone by, again, Bogosian and Riley. And the game ends 3-2. Now, it creates a debate. Do you go with Hyman on the first line? Do you go with Jumbo Joe? Obviously, I saw lots of people saying, well, put Hyman back onto the first line, put Mikheyev or Robertson onto the second line with Tavares and Nylander, and then on the third line, you can have Kerfoot and Thornton and whomever you like between Robertson and Mikheyev, and then on the fourth, Barabanov or Spezza and Simmons. And it is a debate to be had. Now, with Robertson out, I don't think they'll change the lines. If anything, they'll probably go back to Barabanov. It'll be interesting to see whether they go with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. I think 7 defensemen might be the way to go forward. It would ensure that you have fresher legs defensively in the third, that you have better concentrated players. It would also allow for Lehtinen, if he doesn't have a good night, or if he indeed isn't ready for the NHL, or if anyone has a bad night, like Bogosian, like perhaps CJ Brody had in the second game, that you can reduce their ice time, bring up indeed Lehtinen or Dermott or Muzzin, or whomever you like. And I think personally that is the way you have to go forward. Now, Campbell got the win. Not a great night for him, but a good night for him. You have to go with Campbell in the next game. Now, I know it's a contract year for Freddie Anderson, and he's bound to have some good games, but go with the winning goalie. That should be the way to go forward. You go with the winning goalie, and then if Campbell hits a rough patch of form, 1 or 2 terrible games, you go back to Freddie Anderson, and so on and so forth. Now, the problem with the Leafs is also Arundel. Do you keep Arundel in the squad? Do you waive Arundel? Do you trade Arundel? I believe that they will lose Arundel at some point in the season. Whether that is through a trade, whether that is being waived, I don't know. But having 3 goalies on your team isn't ideal. They will need to fiddle with the cap a bit. Now, Robertson out, indefinitely. I don't know how long. That could be just for a night, could be for a week, could be for a month. Who knows? I believe they will lose Arundel. I do not agree with carrying 3 goalies on the roster. You've already got Michael Hutchinson playing for the Marlies. You've got Scott. You've got Wall. Now, they are not ready, but Michael Hutchinson can serve as a 3rd goalie if needed. It's not an ideal situation, but if needed, he can do that. And yeah, I'm just curious to see what will happen. Anyway, that was it. I am very much looking forward to making more specific videos on specific players, specific situations as the season progresses. Obviously, now we've got a 3rd game for quite a lot of teams already. So the season is really shaping up to become something interesting, something very hard fought. It's what we all expected, which is great. But we will see patterns develop slowly as time goes on, and I'm very much looking forward to discussing those. So elsewhere, the Wild beat the Kings in OT, the Flames beat the Canucks 3-0, good shutout for Markstrom. The Ducks lose in OT to Vegas 2-1, and the Predators easily win against Columbus 5-3. So that was it for this video on the 4th period. Now, if you've enjoyed it again, please drop the video a like, please subscribe, let me know what you thought of it in the comments, and I'll talk to you very soon.